So now we get to Cody, and I really like Cody. He's my favorite kid in the original group, second favorite kid overall this season. In fact, I think when I was younger and this first came on, Cody was my favorite kid. I liked him even more than Ken back then. Now, things have changed, but you can see that this character for some reason really resonated with me. Now back then I think I liked him the most for more shallow reasons, like, when the new kids enter the digital world, they all get new outfits, and I thought Cody's was the coolest. Also, armadillos were one of my favorite animals, and, well, at that time, I had a dog named Cody, who had recently died, so I was making that name connection between the two. Man, I miss Cody. He was such a cool dog. He'd pant all the time, like no matter what. It was kind of weird, but kind of cool. Anyway, back to talk about Digimon. Anyway, when I went back and revisited these shows, I kind of didn't know how I was gonna feel about Cody, because I had just gotten off of watching Adventure, and I noticed that I viewed the characters differently than I did back then. I like certain characters more, and certain characters less. So I was very interested to see how Cody resonate with me today. And well, I think I actually like him a little more than I did back then. But before I talk about that, I'm going to talk about who exactly Cody is. Cody is the young kid of the group this season, but oddly enough, I think he's the most mature. This is largely due to his backstory. Cody's dad was a police officer who was gunned down in the line of duty some time ago, causing him to be raised by his mother and also his grandfather, who was also his kendo instructor. Now, Cody's grandfather is actually kind of an interesting character because he gives a glimpse into Cody's thought process. Because keep in mind, with the absence of Cody's father in his life, he's had to seek a lot of guidance from his grandfather. And his grandfather is very old-fashioned, very much concerned about things like, I guess, honor, respect, and kind of things like that. And it's that mentality that has bred this kind of black and white view of the world that Cody has. It also probably has to do with his dad getting shot, you know, his dad being a police officer, so therefore the white side of the world, and the shooter probably being the black side of the world, you know, yin-yang, that type of thing. Anyway, that's Cody's mentality at the beginning of this season. He's very disciplined, very honest, very frank, I would say, and very mature for his age. Now, I've been told I'm very mature for my age, so I relate to Cody on this level. But his maturity is more than just a character trait to me. To me, it defines his entire character growth. Now, before we talk about that, we gotta talk about his two crests. Now, Cody's crests are the crest of knowledge and the crest of reliability, meaning that he is supposed to be a mixture between Joe and Izzy, my two favorite characters from the last season. Now, I'm on high alert here because either this could go really well or really, really, really bad. And while not being perfect, I think it's easily the best fusion of this season. Now, that's not actually saying too much because Davis wasn't really, I feel, meant to be a mixture of Matt and Ty, and Yoli got my two least favorite characters of the season, and even then I don't think she really represented them that well. Oy. But anyway, I think Cody manages to pull this off relatively well. Now here's the parts I've noticed about each one of these characters. Maybe you've noticed more or something, but here's what I've noticed. He's similar to Izzy in the sense that he's, well, the shortest in the group, and he's very reserved, but he's also very smart. And he acts as kind of a confidant for the leader. But also, I noticed they both kind of have issues with social skills. They're both kind of lost in their own world a little bit. Izzy has social skills because he lives in a world of technology and computers, a world he kind of retreated into after the discovery that he was adopted. Cody kind of lives in a world more of, well, according to the show, it's kind of a world that the show views outdated in the sense of its views on morality. Like I said, it's a very black and white world that Cody lives in. And this is because of his raising by his grandfather. I kind of get this feeling, through Cody's actions that he was raised in a, don't speak until spoken to type of environment. So that can make him a bit antisocial. And I feel like the crest of knowledge takes on a different definition when it's applied to Cody. Because when it was applied to Izzy, it was kind of, his general curiosity, his quest to become smarter. I feel like the show was trying to say that the crest of knowledge isn't so much directly about knowledge when it's applied to Cody, but actually kind of his... how do I put this? His journey and quest to modernize his beliefs. I don't know, I feel like there's a weird focus on Cody's beliefs. But anyway, now let's talk about how he relates to Joe. I feel like Cody relates to Joe more overtly and relates to Izzy more subtly. Because, that thing with Izzy, I had to really sit down and think about that. I'm not even sure if that's what the writers and the show intended to happen with their relationship, but that's how I interpreted it. But Joe is the one Cody talks to the most, and he's the one who helps Cody, develop. And Joe was the most mature in the previous season, and Cody's the most mature now. So, yeah, connection. Anyway, Joe and Cody, I think, have one of the more memorable and infamous bonding episodes of this season. The episode opens up where all the kids are trapped underwater in this oil rig that's been abandoned. They were searching for, I forgot what they were searching for, but they're stuck there now because they can't go outside because Mega Digimon is swimming out there and also ramming into the underwater oil platform. And on top of that, they're running out of air down there, so they have a very dire situation. So anyway, they find an escape pod in the oil well, and they can only fit one person inside of it. They choose to force Cody to go because he has a fear of, the water. This is never mentioned before. He just has a fear of the water, which I can relate to because the ocean is terrifying. Have you seen some of the stuff that lives in there? It's creepy. Sorry. So anyway, Cody needs to go find help. So he goes and looks for Joe. Now, Joe is in the middle of a very important test that he cannot be disturbed unless it's an emergency. Now, Cody has an option here. Cody could either lie and say there is an emergency, betraying his sense of dignity and honor, but the lie would save his friends. Or he can stick to his principles and let his friends die. Naturally, he chooses to lie, but this is a big deal for Cody, choosing to purposely be dishonest. Now, I can kind of understand, Cody feeling bad about this, considering his upbringing, although I will concede. That whole thing where he starts crying, that's a little too much. But I can understand, Cody feeling bad about that, But this episode does lead to one of the more interesting lessons of this season, which is it's okay to lie sometimes, at least according to Joe.
Brendan, there's nothing wrong with lying to women.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the government.
Right.
Or your parents.
Sure.
Or God.
Right.
All right?
Yeah, but what if they figure out that you're a liar,
What, women?
Sure.
Then who needs them? Lie to men.
Okay, that wasn't the lesson of lying he was teaching. It was more about it's okay to lie if it means helping a friend that's in dire need. That lesson's a lot more innocent than my version, but still, that's a really weird lesson to see in a TV show. But this scene, to me, starts off an entire character arc that lasts throughout the rest of the season. I call it the corruption of Cody arc. Because Cody is kind of pure. Not Kari pure though, like where she's the embodiment of all hope and light and stuff. He's more pure in the sense that he has a very strict moral code that he refuses to compromise on. Like I said before, and I've been talking about for a while, he views the world in black and white. There is no gray. Things such as lying and hate in all circumstances are unjustified. But the show obviously views this as a major character flaw because for the rest of the season, the show seems to be intent on trying to drag Cody from this black and white mentality into a world full of different shades of gray. It starts here with Cody realizing that not all lying is unjustified.
Two kinds of lies, Cody. There are lies that are wrong, and then there are the lies that are acceptable. You see, some lies can hurt people. Then again, some can actually help them.
Second big thing that I remember happening in terms of this arc was Cody witnessing TK's just raw anger and hatred towards the Digimon Emperor when he sees that Ken is using Devimon and the powers of darkness for his own evil purposes. And Cody, once again, seeing this type of behavior as unjustified in any circumstances, becomes kind of a little scared of TK. This manifests into I would say kind of a flaccid problem between these two, because through process of elimination, they figure out that they are gonna have to fuse their Digimon together, like they're gonna be the fusion partners. And Cody's apprehensive about this because he saw TK's dark side, but he eventually gets over it and they fuse together. I don't care. I didn't really like that whole subplot with those two. But I guess it kind of plays into Cody's overall movement towards the gray area and his corruption. So I thought I'd mention it. Now the third instance of this character arc came when Ken is trying to be good. Now Cody doesn't believe Ken will ever be completely good, and he's very resistant to Davis's idea of allowing Ken in the group. Once again, doing it black and white mentality, blah blah blah. Anyway, after Ken saves his life, he kinda has this epiphany, or at least this change of attitude towards villains. He doesn't really see them as just cold-hearted monsters anymore. He sees them as more sympathetic characters, or at least more tragic figures that he needs to be able to understand, or at least can try to understand. We see him try to actually reason with Black or Greymon, and heck, he even seems to form some type of bond with Oikawa by the end of his arc. So yeah, those events regarding the villains I think are the biggest moments in Cody's development. Because we gotta see that shift in his character, and it's the most visible when it's talking about villains. And I do like that development that he has. It's easily one of the most notable character changes in this season. And I do feel like it actually kind of has a good payoff, or at least a decent payoff, seeing how he has that unique relationship with Oikawa that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So good job, Cody. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is something that I think everybody has made fun of this season for. No, not that. I'm completely indifferent to that whole thing. I just don't care. No, it's something that, I don't know, I've seen everybody make jokes about this scene and this exchange. And it's for good reason, because you see what happens if...
Oh, shit!
Here's a piece of advice, Brendan. There's no such thing as psychology. It's all made up crap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're all con men. All of them. Even the women.
Oh,
Just remember that when they're telling you how screwed up you are.
okay.
And let me tell you something else. Astronomy is BS too.
Really?
Yeah, all that star crap is ridiculous.
But there are stars.
Whatever, Brendan.
What the hell was that? I just hope that doesn't happen again. Anyway, the whole scene has some context to it, I think. Way back when Ken just first reappears after his little coma, and he's trying to rebuild the digital world, but he's not part of the group yet.